We're on.
Hi, welcome to Soul Centered. My name is Ariela and Rabbi, and this is my husband.
Hey, I'm Ariela and Rabbi B, her husband.
And we want to welcome you into Soul Centered, an online and also Denver-based center for loss, meaning, and healing. And we are so excited to talk to you tonight about how to center your soul, especially in these times, in this time of the coronavirus, but really in this, just the world that we live in right now. So with our work together in Soul Centered, we do exactly that. We help people center their souls. And specifically for my portion of what I do, I am the founder and creator of the Divine Body Wisdom Program. And I help people connect to and tap into their divine body and soul wisdom so they can heal on physically, emotionally, and spiritually. What does that mean? Basically, that means that no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're feeling, you are already whole. And I just help people remember that essentially through many different venues.
And that's why we started Soul Centered for this very time and this reason. We believe deeply that there are two paths to walk in this lifetime. There's a self-centered path and there's a soul-centered path. And if you walk a self-centered path, you get rattled by the world around you. But if you walk a soul-centered path, you are untouched, right? Yeah, your physical world is touched, and that's what we're going through right now, literally, physically. But you find that place within you that's whole, that's soul, and that's really what soul-centered is. It's for anybody and everybody. It's not particularly for Jewish people. It's certainly welcome to Jews, but it's for Christians, for Buddhists, for Hindus, for secular, for the spiritual, not religious, because we all need to find ways to center our souls. And so that's what this is. The Soul Experience is a weekly offering. We really conceived of it for our clients as a tool, kind of the connective tissue between when we meet with them. Right now we're meeting with most of them online, not all, but many of them. And so we work with our clients and they want things to do during the week to live this work, not just to think about it. It's not just thinking about living a soul-centered life, it's living a soul-centered life. And so the Soul Experience is just that opportunity, and that's what we're going to enter into, but it's for everybody to really kind of just carve out the next half hour or so to center your soul.
And to remember that you are whole. No matter what you're going through, you are whole.
You are whole. And so we'll just tap into that. And we do that through mind, body, and spirit. We do that through conversation, which we'll get into in a little bit. And we do it through chanting, prayer, healing. And so that's what we'll enter into now. So, I guess we'll start with just a centering chant, the sound of Om. I've explained many times before. The sound of Om is just a primal sound. It's a closed sound, and it really kind of literally it centers us. When you use this, you create a vibration that's just kind of more focused and centered. And take some deep breaths. And so with that, we'll chant Om, but we put it to the word Shalom, which means peace, and hello and goodbye.
And so just as a kavanah, in Hebrew, a kavanah means intention. As we chant this prayer or this word, you can envision peace going into your body and peace going through your body. And you can envision peace coming from you and traveling to others. So as much as possible, especially tonight, our focus is really showing up in where you are, but also showing up and being present for yourself and bringing in that positive energy for yourself, because that is really, really what our world needs right now, is the positive and the love. So let's bring in Shalom.
Here we go. Take some deep breaths and just find your rhythm and join us or listen.
So, our intention, as we've mentioned, you have to make room.
See you.
Our intention, as we mentioned, is showing up tonight, and we're going to have in Hebrew it's called chavruta, a discussion back and forth between the two of us about what it means to show up in our lives, to show up in our bodies, to show up in the present moment, to also show up and be present for what is present for us here and now.
So we're going into the chavruta? Okay, good.
Yes,
just
yeah.
real quickly, I wrote a blog today on pretty much the topic everybody's talking about, coronavirus, I think from a different slant, and I'm just sharing that because it's on the conversation we're having, but it's also on our new website, which I didn't mention before, mysoulcentered.org, mysoulcentered.org. And you can just go there, and it's the first blog up there, and read it later, but didn't want to forget to plug that. So with that, let's talk about showing up. What does it mean, to show up? We say that and we kind of assume we know what it means, but there's really some deep teachings and wisdom traditions, and my kind of default is the Jewish wisdom tradition, and a story that everybody knows, regardless of what religion you are or how versed you are in the Torah, the Bible, is the story of the Garden of Eden. And I go to it over and over again because it's just a blueprint for life and how to live life or how not to live life. And I think it's a deeply misunderstood blueprint. Oftentimes we think of the Garden of Eden story as a simple, silly child's fairy tale, but it's a sophisticated tale about showing up. And here's how that works. Adam and Eve, you remember, eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And some traditions say they sinned. I'm not interested in that. I don't think it's right or helpful, certainly not from my worldview. They stray, and I can relate to that. We all stray in 10,000 different ways. I don't believe God was upset reading the close understanding of the words and different commentaries as much as expecting children to stray. That's what we do. What's interesting is what God says to them. God comes calling to them and says one word, right? It's a powerful word in Hebrew. It's only used one time in the entire Torah. And God says to them, Ayeka. And Ayeka translates closely to, where are you? Right? Where are you now that you've strayed, that you've lost yourself in anxiety and doubt and fear? And God waits the response. And what's interesting and I guess tragic is their response. They blame, right? Basically, Adam says, she made me do it. And Eve says, the snake made me do it. And of course, snake has nobody to blame. And they run away, right? And that's really the opposite of what we're talking about tonight. What could have been would have been what Abraham said when God called out to him, or when Moses said when God called out to him in the burning bush. Says, Moshe, Moshe, and he says, Hineni, here I am. So the antidote to running is showing up. And in Hebrew, again, in the Bible, it's responding, Hineni, here I am. And that's the message that I think we need to really take away from the Bible and bring it into our lives in real practical ways.
It reminds me a little bit about what we talked about last week, and the last couple of weeks we were talking a lot about boundaries and the idea of saying no and really pulling in to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves and have good boundaries for ourselves. In order to get to the yes, you have to have good boundaries within yourself. And I think tonight what we're saying is, how do we get to the yes? Hineni. How do we get to, yes, I am here. Yes, I am present. Yes, I'm showing up. It's a flip from what we discussed last week.
Yeah, I hope people tune back in from last 2 weeks, actually. The first week was, I think, boundaries. Last week was, or one, I forget. No, it was self-repair. And then it was boundaries and saying no. And my fear is people didn't tune back in this one. because this is the manifestation of healthy boundaries.
Right.
Is not to end in those boundaries and I live in a world of no and that's where it begins and it ends, but it's, well, Ariela just got off the plane, right? It's put on your oxygen mask before you put on the person next to you.
Right.
But the assumption is that you will put on persons next to you. You will help them.
You will say yes.
You will say yes.
Right. So it's finding that balance between taking care of yourself and showing up for yourself and for others.
And it's easier said than done. When Adam and Eve were scared, their natural reaction was to run,
right,
which is the opposite of showing up. It's retreating, or to blame, right, to distance. And that's a primal, not just human, an animal reaction to something that's scary.
Right.
Is to not show up.
If we take this into what's going on in our world right now, a perfect example is that my grandmother just passed away, and I got on a plane last week to say goodbye, and I got on a plane Tuesday morning to attend her funeral yesterday. And Tuesday morning, I was very scared about getting on a plane. There was the airport was empty, basically. And I was getting on a plane, and I had all my hand sanitizer, and everything was ready, but I was so closed off. I didn't look at anybody. The person next to me, I don't even know what the person next to me looked like. It was as if I could not look at somebody, that I wouldn't get this virus. And so I just shut myself off. I didn't touch anything, which was probably good. But I really didn't connect with anybody. I didn't look anybody in the eye. I just did what I had to do and got where I needed to get. On the flip side, on the way home today, I had this aha moment, this realization that while I don't need to touch somebody, I can still connect with people. Social distancing doesn't mean, well, sometimes it does mean quarantining in your house, but it can mean there's a different way to connect to people. So I was sitting on an airplane floor because there was no seats. And I sat there and I looked around and I thought, every single solitary person in this world is going through exactly what you're going through and I'm going through. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter if you're a famous movie star, and it doesn't matter if you're poor and homeless. We are all one. And I treated it differently today. So in the airport, I joked with a person who sat 2 seats next to me because by accident I cleaned off his seat because I thought it was mine. And he thought it was so nice because I cleaned off his seat. And he said, thanks. And then we had a good, a funny joke about it. And I was in the middle of Costco. I ran home, went to Costco. And some people were frustrated and anxious, and you could see the look on people's faces. And I just was present. And I looked at people in the eye, and at one point I said to somebody, we're all in this together, so, stop bumping me with your cart. Like, I'm in the same boat you are. Like, we no need to bump each other. So this Hineni is really about showing up in the way that we can right now to understand we're one.
And I think I know we have to go that extra mile to cancel out the energy of the distancing. Right? It's incumbent upon us. I wrote about this in the blog, you can read it, but I was at this event for leaders. I've been through a couple of them, communal leaders, politicians, civic leaders, clergy. And as I wrote in the blog, there's a big sign on the door that says, "We don't shake hands." And it was a house of worship. And I just felt like, well, okay. But then just put a comma and tell me and I was looking around the side of the sign, and we're happy you're here, you're welcome, we bless you. I go into the conference, the gathering, and it was more of the same. I mean, that's what it felt like. And that was the ethos. And so I went around like an idiot trying down 10 different ways to add on to that sign, walk around saying, namaste. I did the fawns, the hey, and I just watched people. It didn't really accomplish what I had hoped it would because there was such a closed feeling. And we need some reciprocity. We need people to respond to us. We say Hineni, people respond Hineni. And I just think it's a very important point right now to go out of our way to make up for that distance, that social distancing.
Right. And I think coming back to seeing another person and realizing that this realization that we are all in the same boat. It's a collective fear, it's a collective anxiety, and it's a collective, I think, intention that you can be present with your fear. I had a lot of fear in the airport. I wanted to get back to my home really badly. And I sat with it. So it's a hineni to yourself in feeling the fear of what is happening in the world. And by the way, it's just a good lesson for life because fear is always present. So it's about saying yes to yourself and what's going on inside of you and inside of your body. And then it's a saying yes in a way that you can to the other, to other people.
Yeah, and it's not about being fearless, right? We're not fearless. We're all filled with fear. It's about feeling the fear and doing it anyways, as the quote goes. And again, I wrote this in the blog, but it's worth repeating. And maybe you start wrapping it up with this. It's an ancient Hasidic mystical tale about two guys lost in the forest, and they meet up. And the one of the guys is in panic and says, I'm lost. Tell me where to go. And the other guy says, I can't tell you where to go, but I can tell you don't go that way, right? Because that way is a dead end. And then the two go hand in hand, probably not the best analogy right now, but they walk forward together. Mm-hmm. And they find their way out, assumingly, or they don't, but they move forward together, right? And so that's about two people coming together in fear, and maybe you don't know the way out, but you aren't alone.
Right.
And that's the curse. And I guess finishing up, Adam, it says about Adam that it wasn't good that he was lonely. And so that's why God created Eve in the first place. And yet they were together and they were still lonely. And that's why they blamed. And that's why they ran in separate directions. And so it's about walking forward together. And especially now, we don't have to be lonely because we're unified. How often are we unified, as Ariela, as you talked about?
Right, absolutely.
So
I was going to say, I think it's like in ending, I think it's about being vulnerable. Brene Brown always talks about vulnerability, and showing up for each other in whatever way that we can is about being vulnerable with our hearts. It's about saying that I'm scared and you're scared, but we can also find a way to ground ourselves. I've been reading a lot, and the biggest thing that people talk about is that the stress from being so scared can cause us to be ill because our immune systems go down when we are so stressed. So that has been really resonating with me as I sat in the airport, as I sat with my family in a funeral yesterday and just sat and was present with sadness. And I was holding sadness and I was also holding fear of both of my worlds. And I just sat there and I realized I can also sit with raising my immune system by finding a sense of gratitude for the things that I have right here and right now. Even though I feel sad about my grandmother passing and I feel scared about this virus, I still have a lot to live for. And so I held it, all three of those, yesterday and today. And I think that's how we can raise our awareness and our immune systems and our energy. And
you break the virus, right? If everybody raises their immune systems and we do the social distancing and we, create this positive energy, right? It will, the fear will dissipate, the virus will dissipate, and we become stronger and better for it as individuals and as a society, as people. And that's the goal. That's why we're here, is to grow and become stronger and better and more loving, and flipping this virus and this time of fear on its head. And going out into the world, this is what we work on with our clients all week long. Finding, like Ariela said, things that are right, that are good, that are whole. And that comes back to the soul. Even no matter what's going on, even if it's horrible out there, there's always a point of wholeness and wellness in here. And so maybe we'll transition into now more than ever, maybe kind of a guided meditation into the wholeness of our soul.
So finding a comfortable seat wherever you are, and if you'd like to, you can close your eyes and just begin the first way to raise your vibration, to find your immune system, to find your health, is to breathe. So I just invite you for a moment to let go of all the news and all that we are dealing with. Just let it go for a moment and let yourself be where you are. And take a deep breath in and a long exhale out. And another one, deep breath in and a long breath out. And Hineni, saying yes, being present, is sitting here, right here where you are right now. You may not have school for your children tomorrow. You may be home by yourself. You may be in quarantine. You may be in many different places. Wherever you are, just breathing into the present moment of where you are. Knowing that all we have is this exact moment here. And if you can handle this moment, then you can go on to the next breath and the next moment. So imagine, maybe you open your palms if you'd like, and imagine that you are holding the world. Literally, you're holding your family, you're holding yourself, and you're holding others. And just begin, if you can, to feel a sense of groundedness. So how do we feel groundedness? The best way that I know how is to imagine that you have a strong energy, light cord going down deep into the earth. Now, it may sound funny to some of you to imagine that, but when your feet are planted in the earth, you are grounded. You are here, and you can say Hineni. And then imagine a beautiful light traveling up above your head to whatever you believe or don't believe. Just beautiful light. And really let this light travel inside of your body. And this beautiful present moment, in this present moment, sitting with all of who you are now, allow your heart center. There are chakras in your body, energy centers. They're just energy. Allow your heart to open. Send love to your family, to your body, to your neighbors, to your city. Send love to your state. Send love to our world. Imagine in your hand you are holding the world. Raise your vibration. All you have to do is send love. The opposite of fear is love. It's all we have power over right now, is to be love, to give love, to receive love, to own our power, to own that beautiful light within you, is to be love. Love a little bit more tonight when you hug your kids goodnight. Look in your partner's eye, in their eyes, and say, I love you. And look in the mirror and tell yourself that you are whole. And then take another deep breath in and imagine and be that oneness and that whole being that you truly are.
So again, because this is about getting beyond ourselves and showing up for others, maybe we'll just take a few moments and send our love and our prayers out to others. Not, yes, certainly those who are combating the virus right now, but also those who are just living in fear. right? You can send your love and your prayers, your energy, your intention to somebody in particular, not just kind of sea of faces, but just think of somebody who needs your intentions. And Ariela will lead us in an ancient Hebrew chant, very simple words, and also with some English.
Elohai.
Elna.
Okay. Okay. So just take a deep breath in. And we'll begin. Ana, Elna, Ana, Elna, Ana, Elna, Refa, Nala, Ana, Elna, Ana, Elna, Refa, Nala, source of healing, source of soul, please send us your love, please make us whole. Oh, source of healing, source of soul, please send us your love, please make us whole. Ana, Elna, Ana, Elna, Ana, Elna, Refa, Nala.
So before we end, we always do a prayer for those who came before us, those who are still with us, just not in body and spirit. And I work a lot with clients who are going through grief. It's kind of my area of passion. Wrote a book called Spark Seekers, as many of you know. And Spark Seekers is about going into the darkness, showing up, not just in life, but in the afterlife when our loved ones have moved on. And so, there's synagogues around the world that every day, multiple times a day, especially in the evening, offer prayer services. I think most of them are closing. And so this is an opportunity for anybody, Jewish, not Jewish, to participate. But for those of you who are, it's your custom to say the Kaddish prayer, this is a good opportunity. If you can't go be a part of a physical community, this is why we offer this as a virtual community. And I say that because Ariela is saying Kaddish for her grandma. And so there's lots of people out there we'll send our love and our prayers to who are saying their prayers for their loved ones. And so we'll continue with Kaddish, a very simple chant. It's really just about directing your heart and your prayers out into the world and focusing on light and life and love and legacy, not death and darkness. So we orient ourselves towards the light.
Yikara ve'yikadash Shemei Rabba Yehei Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Le'yamaya Yikara ve'yikadash Shemei Rabba Yehei Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Le'yamaya. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life.
Shalom, 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 shalom. And so before we conclude with love is all there is, I guess just a little more sharing about what we're doing with Soul Centered. Again, some of you joined us the whole time. Most of people just tuned in and out, and you just tuned in. We started Soul Centered for this particular time, this particular reason. When there's fear in the world, when there's fear in our hearts, if you live a physical oriented life, you're going to crumble in fear eventually at some point. But if you live a soul-centered life, you can transcend the fear. You can go within and find refuge in this place that's always whole in the soul. And that's the work we do. That's what we're offering with the soul experience and the grief experience and Ariela and the healing experience. You can read more about this on mysoulcentered.org. And Ariela does her work with her clients, and I do work with my clients. You want to just tell a little bit more about what you do?
So I offer a safe place for people to come and connect with their body and soul wisdom.
Virtually and
absolutely. So, and when you do that, you find a place within you that is whole. And there's various ways that we do that. One way is through, both of us do soul coaching. Another way that I use what I offer is through healing visualizations that elicit emotional release, and also energy work, Reiki, and chakra balancing. And really it's for anyone that is interested in connecting deeper with the idea that you are more than your body, that you have a divine spirit within you, but that your body is very much included in what you're doing in life, because we are human beings. We are here on earth for that reason. So it's really about combining body and soul together. And Baruch and I are both offering online or in-person 30-minute consultations, discovery sessions for you to discover how to center your soul. We both come together in soul, and the way we offer it is slightly different, but that the ultimate goal is soul. And so if you are interested, you can private message us or go to mysoulcentered.org and make an appointment with us for a 30-minute free consultation.
Yeah, and I'll just tell you a little more about my work, and then again how it dovetails with Ariela. And last time Ariela said, we went long, and I said, it's online. People can tune in or out whenever they want. So
we can go long.
And there's nowhere to go because nobody can go out.
Right.
So, but I'd say my clients are split. Soul Centered is really titled Loss, Meaning, Healing. Ariela very much focused on healing. Me very much focused on loss. Both of us meeting in the middle around meaning and soul. And I'd say my clients are split around loss. That's a doorway in for many people who are going through acute grief, just lost a loved one. But many of them have lost a loved one months, years. I'm working with a client right now who lost a loved one a decade or so ago, and she never made time to do this work and just buried it and then built layers and layers and layers upon it and really couldn't figure out why her foundation was so shaky in her professional and personal life. And so we've been uncovering the layers. And some of these clients I turn over to Ariela to really then go to more of a body modality, and then they come back to me. Some of our clients are totally independent, individual. And then the other clients I work with, Ariela said, is soul coaching. I'm a student of Dr. Viktor Frankl, author of Man's Search for Meaning and creator of logotherapy. And so I consider myself a logotherapist. And logotherapy, logos Greek for meaning. It's meaning-centered psychotherapy. And it's simply the idea that we can get through anything in life if we have meaning. We have a will to meaning. It's there. It's always calling for us. And not in spite of these challenging times, but because of them. Whatever the challenging times are, that's a doorway into meaning, into ease, fun, joy, not necessarily, but meaning unequivocally. And Dr. Frankl taught this out of the Holocaust. This was the foundation in which he proved his psychotherapeutic model, that if he could find meaning in the Holocaust, we could find meaning in any circumstance. Mm-hmm. And so working with clients on finding meaning and actualizing that in practical, tangible ways to get through times like these. And so, if you're out there and you're looking for healing, physical, emotional, spiritual, if you're grieving, and certainly if you're seeking meaning during a time that feels maybe meaningless or you're not sure what the meaning is, we would love to talk with you. Until next week, we wish you salam, shalom, and peace. Namaste and peace.
So we'll end with our final song, Love Is All There Is, because really love is all there is. So maybe close your eyes and just feel that for a moment. That love is all there is as we begin. Yeah.